All right, I've made an additional object here, just a black cylinder, and I'm going to demonstrate how we could make a very simple flashlight just to show you one more possibility with these grab interactables. So whereas the cube, it sort of didn't matter what direction it was pointing when we picked it up, if we're going to call this a flashlight, it's going to have a directionality because it's not just symmetrical all over. And indeed, if I hit play right now and grab this, it comes in and attaches in a way that is not very flashlight-like. So let me demonstrate how we can change that. Down here in the grab interactable component that I've added to the cylinder, there is something called the attach transform, and this can be a childed object of the cylinder that changes where the attachment is. So I'm going to create an empty object and call it attach, and I will reset its position and child it under the cylinder, and I'll reset once more once it's under there because it took on a lot of the settings from the cylinder to keep it at the origin point. And then what I will do here is enter rotate mode using E on my keyboard, and I'm just going to spin this 90 degrees in that direction. And then the last important step is we go back up to the cylinder and make the attach child object the attach transform of the cylinder. And let's give it a test. Oh, that was the wrong direction. So this is another example where it might be useful to find out which is the right direction in game mode, in play mode rather. So we wanted this to change on the X, not the Z. So if we make the X 90 and not the Z 90, that'll give us the effect that we're looking for. The other thing that we might want to do is have this come out from our hand a little bit. And so this, again, like I showed you at the beginning, is kind of a nice way of just like prototyping and checking and being like, okay, this is the actual settings I want. So it's 90 and about 1.2 on the Y position. And then I hit play, and none of that stayed, remember, because it all happened in play mode. But back in edit mode, I can reproduce it. So 90 on the X and not on the Z, and it was like 1.18 or something on the position. And now when I hit play, we should get the effect we want. Okay, now this is a little more like what I'm after. Finally, if we said we were going to make this into a flashlight, then this cylinder needs a light to be attached to it. So I'm going to right click on the cylinder game object and create a spotlight. The spotlight will also need to be rotated 90 degrees so that it's pointing where we want it out the front. And I'll move its position up, and let's see if it's pointing out the right direction. Nope. Pointing out the back. So that's, once again, something we've got to change. So in this case, it'd be 90 in that direction. And we'll move the Y position down that way. Okay, so that's the front, so to speak, of our flashlight. Final thing is we need this light to be off from the start because we want this to be something we can choose to turn on. So back in our grab interactable, which is up in the cylinder object, I want you to take note of this that's twirled closed by default, the interactable events. If we twirl that open, it turns out there's a whole lot of events that we can pick up on. When we hover over the thing, when we exit hover, when we select it, and when we activate it. So in this case, we're going to use activate, and activate is the trigger button on our XR controllers. So we are going to do this without code, which means we'll be able to turn this on, but if you want to toggle, that is going to involve some script writing. But for our purposes, we'll just stay out of code for now and just turn the thing on. So down in Activate, we're going to add an event here, and the event is looking for an object. So we will drag that light object here. And once it has a game object, then it picks up what some of the functions are that game object has. So I just turned the entire light off, the whole object I mean. So this game object, we can set it to active, and that is going to be clicked yes, meaning like the set active is checkboxed. If we had the light on and we wanted the trigger button to turn the light off, we could choose set active uncheckbox. But what we can't do without a little bit of coding is toggle back and forth between the set active. But anyway, what's going on now, if everything worked, is we should be able to grab our flashlight, and then if we press trigger, we turn the light on. So then you might have noticed that there is a deactivated event as well. So while we can't have the trigger button function as a toggle without programming, that is to say every time you press the trigger, it just switches whether the game object is on or off, no matter what it happens to be on. That would take a little programming. But what would not take any programming is the light works while you hold the button, and then when you let go of the button, the light turns off. So if that's interesting to you, just for the sake of demonstration, we can do that. So we're going to hit plus here, and again, our light is the game object, and set active, which takes a Boolean, which means either on or off. And in this case, we're going to be off. And so now we grab, and while I'm holding trigger, I get a light, and when I let go of trigger, I get no light. So this could be a good way of temporarily lighting something up, turning on a lightsaber, or activating some other kind of fireworks sprayer or fire extinguisher, or any of these kinds of objects where you would temporarily want to hold down a button and get a game object to function. And this is a list, so you can have multiple things activate at the same time when you press the activation button. So for example, I've created a particle emitting system that I can also turn on or set active, and have it become not active when I click this as well. So now if we grab this flashlight, not only is it a flashlight, but when we press the button, it starts spraying out some particles too from the particle system I designed. And in the device simulator, remember G is grab and left click is our trigger. So that'll be spraying the particles and turning the light on. The only warning I have for you is left click also is a left click in your interface. So if your mouse is kind of like off to the side, you're going to end up clicking on your inspector or like kind of pausing your simulation. So just be careful of that.